I know the PT was watching that Eagle game and not happy.
I was not happy about that. There was a basketball game. I mean, I was into that Seattle game on Sunday night, and normally because of school on Monday and 5 a.m. comes pretty early, I'll go to bed at halftime. But it was too compelling a game to turn off. There was too much drama going on. Nobody was running away with it, and you had to watch. I mean, that's Rocky and Apollo Creed, those two teams.
It was fun. The Eagles was not. So, PT, I want to get from you a fiery PT today. I mean, your Twitter feed was a little fiery this week. And by the way, just slipping in a U.S. Open?
I did slip in some U.S. Open, just enough to kind of keep track on who was leading and see that Matt Wolff was leading after 3 rounds. And then, Mr. Protein Shakes, he and I have something in common, although he hits the ball a lot farther than I do, and he probably subscribes to the diet and exercise better than I do. But Bryson DeChambeau, man, that's not supposed to happen at a U.S. Open for a guy to go 6 under at Winged Foot. That is not supposed to happen. So, yeah, I got to watch a little of it. But, boy, I'll tell you about the Eagles game, Mike. The reason, it's funny. So last week during the Redskins game, I'm my normal PT mode, which is like, all right, I'm watching the game, and I'm tweeting, and I'm watching the game, and I'm tweeting. And this game started off, and I thought, well, let me try a different tactic. Let me just watch and absorb the game. And then when it's done, I'll put some reaction out there. And unfortunately, neither of those lead to an Eagles win. The Redskins game, they collapsed. And then in this Rams game, look, people are pissed off at Carson Wentz and include me in that group. But the number one thing that I have a problem with is that the defense is not defending. 64 points in 62 minutes on the field. I mean, that's ridiculous. And the money that they're paying these guys, $212 million total to the top 4 defensive linemen: Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham, Malik Jackson. Javon Hargrave, I gave a little bit of a pat. He just finally made his debut, but those 4 big names, 1 sack in the first 2 games, 1 stinking sack. And we all know that Jim Schwartz doesn't blitz, so you're counting on those guys. That defensive line has to be dominant, and if they don't get home, then you fail. So, I mean, that's probably item 1 for me, but definitely item 2 is number 11. Oh, my God, is he bad? He is bad right now.
Well, that's interesting because while I agree, I mean, the defense was absolutely abysmal. It's hard to win football games. It's hard to win football games if your defense is that bad, but I think we can all agree that the quarterback is the most important position, and to see him play this bad, I mean, as you said, it's almost undescribable. I would say that's probably more concerning.
Well, and I just don't understand, here was Doug all offseason kind of saying, and we have continuity with our guys, or outsiders would say, and the Eagles, they have the head coach has been there the longest, and Carson Wentz is now going into year 5, and this is going to bode well for them. There'll be good things. And now Doug yesterday says, well, I think he needs time to sync up with his receivers more. He needs and Wentz is trying too hard. He doesn't have to carry the offense on his back. Listen, I don't know what Wentz is doing, because 72.5 and 56.5 are awful passer ratings. I mean, abysmal passer ratings. In fact, Casey Joyner, who I love to listen to on this program when he comes on, Casey Joyner loves the word metrics, right? It doesn't matter what outfit you're using. Football Outsiders, Pro Football Focus, Next Gen Stats. I don't care who the metric is. Carson Wentz is at the stinking bottom. DFL, and I can't say the F, but you know what it stands for. He is last, dead last in all the rankings. He is literally right now the worst starting quarterback in the NFL.
Well, there was a stat that 20 passes he has thrown this year off the mark. It's by far the most in the league, and 15 of those passes have come when he's not under duress. So he's just missing guys, PT, and that's where I'm concerned is, okay, you make some throws because you're getting flushed out of the pocket or there's pressure coming. No, he's got 20 throws off the mark this year, and 15 of them have come not under duress. That's a problem.
And there was one of them on Sunday, Mike. You're exactly right. There was one on Sunday where I think he overthrew Ertz. And I tried to say something to Michael, my girlfriend's son, about the wind's down there. And he goes, BS. Stop making excuses for this guy. He's just not got the mechanics right. And, remember a couple seasons ago when Carson went and did his own work with Adam Daydew is the guy's name out in California. That's supposed to be his throwing guru, right? That's supposed to fix him. Well, I don't know what heebie-jeebie or what kind of mojo that he was learning, with this guy. Plus, how do you learn anything? You're probably doing it virtually, right? It's repetition. Throwing motion is repetition and getting your arm slot right. And, look, you can't blame the O-line this week. The O-line looks much better, especially with Lane Johnson back. But even Nate Herbig did a great job,
Yeah.
I mean, listen, you can't blame the O-line for why Carson was overthrowing people, and you can't blame the O-line for why Carson's so stupid that he tries to throw it into coverage when you actually have momentum. I mean, it's a comedy of errors, kind of like the Phillies. We'll get to them in a second. But it's a comedy of errors where the damn team, they start getting momentum, and you're thinking they're going to drive for a score, and what does he do? And the worst part of it about it is I kept thinking, like, boy, is Deshaun Jackson hurt? Oh, wait a second, they're going to him. So then they go to him a couple times, and it works, and they're starting to get some momentum. And what do? Jackson has to come out for a blow, and they put in the world's worst receiver in the history of Eagles receivers. This guy blows. Cut him today. J-Jaw. What the hell is he still doing on the roster? And then to make matters worse, I got to watch that Sunday night game, and I'm watching Metcalf blow it up, and I'm thinking, like, yep. What could have been?
Yep, what could have been, what could have been. Yeah, by the way, that JJR thing on Whiteside, yes, I'm not defending JJ at all, but the throw from Wentz behind JJ's open, just a bad throw, awful.
100%, and it's funny because immediately after the game they were saying, like, if that throw was to the 2-yard line, then it's a good throw, but he throws it behind him after he's back. Look, the bottom line is Wentz is regressing in year 5, and when asked that question, what's wrong with your quarterback, Doug Peterson's answer is, that's a good question. Great. Thanks for the insight, Doug. Basically, that tells me you have no effing idea either why your quarterback's so bad right now, and you have no idea how to fix it.
Well, the whole complexity of what's going on here with Wentz kind of struggling, they draft, a quarterback in the second round. You wonder, look, there's a whole lot of things that could be on the plate here that you have to start getting into. You're trying to play like armchair psychiatrist here, but look, maybe the fact that he signed that contract, maybe the fact that he didn't win that Super Bowl, maybe the fact that he's like, is he trying to gain the respect of everybody back every single play? He wants to make the big play every single play all the time because he's got all this stuff. Like maybe he's pressing, maybe he's trying to do too much, maybe it's the contract, maybe it's the fact that Foles won and not him. Maybe he's trying to gain the respect of the fans and live up to the contract and make the perfect play on every single play.
I mean, and I'm going to steal the Flyers line. Then he needs to put his big boy pants on and get a little thicker skin. I mean, this is Philadelphia. This is where we boo you just for putting your socks on wrong, okay? I mean, you can't be worried about trying to appease the fan base. Get out there and do your job, and the fans will be pleased just fine. And the other thing I thought of, and I heard some of this, or I saw some of this maybe going around on social media and people's comments to my Facebook comment when I put a recap up after the game of what I thought. And trust me, I put a lot of the blame on Wentz. When the game was over, there's people out there that think that, the Eagles went with Jalen Hurts, to put the pressure on him. Like, let's see if Carson Wentz is worthy of this. We gave him a deal, but that doesn't mean we can't move him at some point. Let's see if Carson Wentz is worthy of this and that he's folded like a cheap paper bag and he's not handling the pressure. I don't know if he's looking over his shoulder. And boy, social media certainly blew up when Jalen Hurts was active. Okay, here we go. We're going to see this guy. He's going to mix in. What was he, a decoy on one play and on the field for 2 plays? Is that what we got? That's what we used a second-round draft pick for, 2 plays? You got to be kidding me.
I want to get your thoughts on this, Pete. Last year and the year before, if you were bashing Carson Wentz, I would stick up for him like no other. I'd be like, you're crazy. Look at the raw talent. Look at what he can be. Look at what he did in 2017. And I would defend him. And with Doug Peterson, I am kind of going down the same road as, when someone would say Doug Peterson's this and that, I'd be like, look, you won the Super Bowl. But now, today, you can easily question Carson Wentz. And I just wonder, because of his ceiling coming into the 2017 year and all that, we think of him as this MVP type quarterback, and he hasn't lived up to that. I just wonder with Doug Peterson, are we going down the same direction? Like, at what point can we be like, is Doug Peterson really a great coach because he had that one great year?
Well, and keep in mind that great year also involved Frank Reich and also involved John DeFilippo. I mean, there's a lot of school of thought out there that says that now that Doug is sort of operating autonomously, and they don't truly have an offensive coordinator.
They're pretty much 500 together since that Super Bowl run. So you could put a lot of blame on Carson, but at the same time, you could put a lot of blame on Doug Peterson. And Mike Gill brought up the fact that during that time, there were a lot of injuries. And I don't think that you can't just pretend that's not a factor as well.
Oh, yeah. No, I would agree with all of that. I mean, look, and the number of times it's funny when you see people say like, oh, he doesn't have Frank Reich anymore. And that was like a common theme the first year that Reich left. I mean, they've had time to adjust and they haven't named. So, like, that's the thing. I think Doug, when he's operating at his best, I'm not saying that Doug doesn't know how to call a good football game, but I think when he's operating at his best, just like our government has checks and balances, right? One branch can't overreach the other branch, right? The head coach of a football team needs to have checks and balances. And I don't know that there's anybody that's in his ear or anybody that's convincing him, don't do this or don't try this, and I think that's where Doug's shortcomings have shown up. In game one against the Redskins, it was the fact that they basically abandoned the run and they were just trying to go for these home run passes. And then in game, I don't know if I put, what are your issues with Doug in game two? Doug can't get out there and tackle the Rams running back that's gashing you. Doug can't get out there and tackle the tight end. And by the way, tight ends against the defense are a huge problem right now. If you're another team in the NFL and you've got a serviceable tight end, we're chucking him all day long. Free agent acquisitions haven't come up. I mean, I saw this stat. Through 2 games, Nickel Roby-Coleman's given up 9 catches on 9 targets, 102 yards, 8 first downs, a touchdown, and a 150.9 passer rating against him. Yeah, if you're the quarterback, you're like, oh, yeah, I'm throwing over that way. Giddy up.
Real quick. In the 5th year of the Donovan McNabb, Andy Reid era, the Eagles started 0-2. They finished 12-4. 5th year of the Wentz Peterson era, the Eagles are 0-2. 12-4, PT?
It's going to be hard pressed for me not to say 4-12. I'm so pissed off at him right now.
All right. Let's
from your lips to God's ears, but
let's transition over to the Phillies, who look like they're going to lose today. In fact, they just lost game 1 with Aaron Nola. So they lost with Wheeler last night. They lost with Nola today. Even if they make the playoffs, PT, you would probably see them play in the playoffs, and Wheeler and Nola would not be available because just to get to the playoffs, they're going to have to pitch on Saturday and Sunday, which means those 2 guys would likely not even appear in a playoff game. So at this point, are the Phillies going to make the playoffs?
Well, in typical Philly fashion, I'll say that they make the playoffs and then they don't have the horses just like you described. And I heard you talking to Frank Close about that earlier. I think Mike Stiles was the guy that he was trying to pull out of his head. I think they still make it, believe it or not. But I also think that, everything that they were trying to set up has collapsed against them. The whole idea was that, all right, we have Zach Wheeler and Aaron Nola, and we can have them starting 4 of the final 7. Well, like you said, Zach Wheeler started and didn't get the win, and now Aaron Nola started and didn't get the win, although Mickey Moniak in the outfield is a joke, and I heard you talking about that too. I mean, that's just ridiculous. And not the least of which is now you absolutely have to start blaming the GM and whatever the heck Andy McPhail does. I mean, both of those guys have to be under the microscope now, including the fact that I'm so pissed off about Matt Klentak's quote on JT Realmuto. That to me is the ultimate, mail it in, give it up. I mean, unless he's playing possum, but I don't think he is. I think that's early spin of, let's throw this out there. So then when it does happen, we can say, well, we told you.
Yeah, I don't think Klentak has a clue when it comes to the whole Realmuto thing. I think he says, look, we got 2 years of a really good player. What do you expect?
Yeah, what I expect is I expect you to sign that player. You didn't just bring him in for 2 years. You brought him in to then, try to keep him around. And the worst part about this is JT has indicated that he wants to be here. He wanted to be here. All you had to do was work on this deal with him get done beforehand. And look, I also heard you talk, and I saw this tweet, or I saw it go on Facebook earlier in the week about the Phillies having massive layoffs. All this. I have a friend that works at the ticket office. He's from Upper Township, went to Ocean City High School. I texted him and said, like, hey, man, you all right? He's like, I hope so. We're all pretty nervous right around here right now. So, Bryce Harper is not cheap. I heard you going through the money earlier, and I thought, Robertson, isn't that the guy they got like 16 pitches out of for $16 million? I mean, what a disaster that was. Who do you put that? You can't blame Klentak for a guy breaking down, but you sure as heck can blame him for some of the choices that he's made and the people he's signed and the people that he hasn't signed.
By the way, Austin Voth was the pitcher today. He just he entered today 0-5 with a 7.17 ERA in 9 starts. He had not pitched more than 5 innings in any start. He just threw a 7-inning complete game against the Phillies.
You hate to see that. That is just terrible offense. And look, when you hear that quote by Matt Klentak, PT, it's crazy. It's almost as if, is the front office delusional on where they were? Because I could get behind the, hey, we have 2 years left on his contract and we have 2 years left of control. If you were a team that was ready to go to and win a World Series and you were maybe a JT Realmuto away. But nothing told me prior to that trade that they were JT Realmuto trade away from going to actually win anything.
I mean, and I'm shocked to see a GM come out and say, like, when you make that trade, you're trading for 2 years of control. You know that. Sixto looked really good against. I mean, he's even bringing up the other side. What's he listening to Ruben on the telecast and decide to have his mea culpa right in the press? I mean, it's obvious to me spin, and I understand Realmuto's age. He's going to be 30. I get that. But, the guy is a flat out difference maker and he deserves the way he's played the last few years. He deserves to have the highest salary for a catcher. Joe Mauer signed $23 million a year. That was his high point, the highest annual salary. And I get it. The billionaire owner of the Mets now can come in and offer him 28, 29 and make a splash and boom. And what do you have for it? That's the ultimate piss me off. What do you have for it? You had a guy that was great for a couple of years under coconut oil, Gabe Kapler, and now you have him under good Joe Girardi, but you're going to end up with book kiss basically because you didn't want to pay him. Awful.
Yep. The Moniak thing is unconscionable that he's in your lineup during the last week of the baseball season. That falls on Klentak as well. I give Girardi some, for not pushing back on playing him. If you're telling me, okay, fine. If you're telling me Girardi doesn't make the lineup and Klentak hands him the lineup card, Girardi, it's incumbent upon him to push back and say, I can't play this kid. He is not ready to play in a Major League Baseball game, and he cost you a run in the first inning, and you end up losing this game today against the Nationals. And now the Phillies are, 500 now?
I think one below. I think they're a game below 500.
Yeah, so brutal season for Austin Voth, but hey, never fear, the Phillies are here, and he gets a win against them today. Yeah, Phillies are 27-28 with 5 games left to play. They have another game tonight, by the way, so a double dip for them. Now, they swept somebody in a doubleheader the other day, which means they'll probably roll over like a bunch of dogs today. Who's pitching that second game? We don't even know yet. We'll find out, but that's the way it goes. It's Tuesday with Thompson with the PT every Tuesday. PT's back for Happy Hour Friday. On the Friday show, we'll get PT's pick for the Eagles and the Bengals right here on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. And, of course, download the free mobile app. Peter, we'll talk to you Friday.
All right, Michael. Take care, Hunter. See you guys.